Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, today I want to try something different than I've ever shared here on YouTube, and that's I'm going to film kind of a whole working day in the garden and really just keep it as real and realistic as possible. I'm fully covered out here in the garden at this point in July. I even need to wear my hair down to protect myself from mosquitoes. I'll cover my hands up in a second. But basically, I just want to show you a full workday in my garden. I start my workday off at about 5 a.m. It's 7 now, so I just took a breakfast break and now I'm going to take you along with me the rest of the day. So what I've already gotten around to this morning are my Japanese Beetles rounds, and there's construction going on in the background. That's a reality too. So I'm not going to worry about editing out any noise or anything like that today. I want to just give you kind of a real sense of a day in the life of a cut flower garden in the landscape. So let me show you a couple ways that I deal with Japanese beetles organically, and then I'm just going to set up my GoPro, take off my mic, and we're going to spend the whole day working on this garden and getting it into tip-top shape. So for Japanese beetles that are feasting on my dahlias, I just go ahead and hand pick them off and put them into soapy water, and they just die in there, and then I throw that whole thing into the compost pile. And then you can see here I have a shrub that the Japanese beetles absolutely love, and so what I do for that is I actually vacuum up the Japanese beetles, and hopefully you can see them there in my vacuum. But at this point I could either just dump them right in my garbage can and let them die in there, or I could dump them into soapy water. And that's what I did over at Plain and Fancy Farm for the spotted lanternfly too. We had a lot of spotted lanternflies on the trees around the vegetable farm, and we would just use backpack vacuums and just suck up the spotted lanternfly that way rather than spraying them. All right, friends, so what do you say we just get to work? I normally also wait until a day when it's a little bit cooler. It's been really, really hot and humid out, so normally my workday has been from about 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then I will stop working till about 6 or 7 p.m. and then work till sundown. But today it's nice and overcast, so I'm gonna try to just get as much work done as I can as possible. So let's get to it and whip this garden into shape. The first thing I want to get done is to go ahead and deadhead all my Dara. I noticed that some of the stems that I haven't been harvesting are trying to go to seed, and that will tell the plant to shut down, and it will eventually turn the plant yellow and it will die. But if I keep up with the deadheading, it will produce all season long for me. So I'm happy to get that job done today. Now in this area, I have a lot of cutting back to do. Things have gotten a little bit wild and some things have fallen over. So I'm cutting back some gladiolas, doing lots of weeding in this area. Grace is keeping me safe as always. It seems like every spring I attempt to rogue out all my pokeweed when it first appears, but nevertheless I seem to always leave a piece in the ground and then I'm stuck cutting it back in the middle of summer. I did already cut my catmint back once at the very end of June, and you can see it's starting to reflush here. I'm trying to turn it more into a formal hedge of catmint. It's not quite there yet, but hopefully it'll get there in the future. I'm really thankful that the Hydrangea Garden is a little bit less maintenance than other areas of my garden. Just a little bit of deadheading and some light weeding in this area. I think in retrospect I will go ahead and move the lilacs that we planted recently and go with all hydrangeas in this room, and then just a few boxwoods mixed in here and there. The starflower has been wonderful in this area, but the plants are starting to die back, so I'm going to remove them and make space for something else. Now, this area always seems to get way out of control, and I think I need to plant some tall perennials back here to kind of cover my bare earth, because what happens is the weeds get ginormous back here, and before I know it, a weed that was 6 inches tall is suddenly 6 feet tall, and I'm pulling with all my strength to get them out. Thank goodness I remembered that I threw my pruners in the wheelbarrow this time. Yesterday, I drove all the way to Target, picked up some printer paper for my husband, and I was going back to my car, and lo and behold, there was a pair of pruners sitting on the trunk. I drove all the way to Target with those pruners on that trunk, and I can't believe they stayed on. I guess I'm a grandma driver after all, that they didn't fly away. The compost pile always fills up to the top on these garden maintenance days. I'm really thankful for my husband because he's the one who turns the compost pile for me. We do get enough rain here to kind of keep it moist and keep it cooking back here, but generally speaking, I do cold composting, so it takes a long time to break down. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover up all my oncoming dahlia buds with these organza bags. The bags I use are 12 by 16 bags, and I buy them on Amazon. It's probably overkill to use these large bags, but these hold my dinner plate dahlias and the smaller dahlias. If you were only growing ball type dahlias, probably an 8 by 8 bag would suffice. But the great thing is if you're dealing with cucumber beetles, Japanese beetles, thrips, anything that can really tarnish a bud, even tarnish plant bug, the organza bags will protect your flower without the use of any harmful pesticides. So now we're on to even more deadheading, and I think the moral of the story here, and there goes Grace on some adventure, the moral of the story is I need to be harvesting more of my flowers. To be honest with you, this stand has been a little bit problematic this year, more problematic than I've ever had in years past in terms of underpayment. So I'm not really sure exactly what to do about that. We did invest in some security cameras and some additional doorbell cameras, but I have not been harvesting and selling as much as I would in previous years just because I'm having a hard time knowing what to do about all the underpayment that I've been receiving lately. But let's move on to something more exciting and happy, which is I'm actually going to be tearing out the entire $5 garden right here and replanting it for fall. In my area, zinnias always get powdery mildew this time of year. It just kind of goes with the territory of living in a humid environment, totally normal. And so I'm pulling out everything except the bitter melon vine is back here. That's staying. But everything else is getting pulled out, and we're going to be replanting it with sunflowers. So let's get started on the fall planting for what I'm going to call now the $2 garden, because all I'm using for this end of season garden is Sundance Kids sunflower seeds. I had purchased a packet of 100 seeds. I think I used about 25 so far, so I'm sticking the remaining 75 back here. This is a really short branching sunflower. It blooms in about 60 days, and so we'll be enjoying these in late September, early October. I'm contemplating turning the $5 garden into a shrub border, maybe a 3 or 4 season shrub border. All right, friends, so we've been working out here for 3 hours, at least 3 hours that I've been filming the work. I've got mainly the main flower walk cleaned up, deadheaded, weeded, anything that needed pruned back, I pruned it back. So what I need to do next is head over to the driveway garden. A lot of my lilies need deadheaded. A ton of weeding needs to be done over there. I need to clean up the orchard because it's doing its June drop and I want to keep those apples under control. I also need to cut the grass, weed whack, lots more things to do. But before we head over to the driveway garden, I want to harvest some tomatoes for tonight. This is my all-time favorite tomato. I know it's really common, but it's my favorite. It's Big Beef. I just love how reliable Big Beef is in terms of the plant. You just know you're gonna have a great harvest, and the tomatoes are delicious as well. So for this tomato pie I'm making for dinner, I think I need about 8 tomatoes. So I think we'll have enough. Here's another one of my favorites called Lemon Boy, a beautiful low acid tomato. And I love too just all the colors. This one here is called Fireworks Tomato. And I am having a little bit of a pest problem back here with Fireworks. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm guessing slugs. I'll have to keep a closer eye. But you can see something is coming through and just taking a bite out of some of them. I decided to come in for a few minutes and get this pie in the oven. And this recipe is so delicious. It tastes like a BLT, but in pie form. So you just cut up a bunch of tomatoes and fill the majority of the pie shell with it. I think the recipe, I'll put the recipe in the description box. I know it says to go ahead and peel the tomatoes. I don't bother to do that anymore. It just saves a lot of time and it still tastes great. Next, I'm gonna top that with some bacon. I have some fresh basil that I chopped up, so I'll just put that on next. I'm gonna top that with about a teaspoon of dried oregano, about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and about a half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. And then we top the whole thing with 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. And into that cheddar cheese, I've mixed about 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. Now just cover this loosely with aluminum foil. And I'll bake it in the oven at 375 for 30 minutes. Take the aluminum foil off and bake it for another 30 minutes, and then we'll be good to go. Gracie likes when we make tomato pie too. I just pulled our tomato pie out, and while it cools down, let's get a little more work done before calling it a day. So over in the driveway garden, all the lilies need deadheaded, and this will just help the lilies produce nice big bulbs next year rather than producing seed. My cleome always gets out of control this time of year, does yours? So I have to kind of prune it back just a bit to keep it in check. And I am having some issues with my Rudbeckia just suddenly dying all the way back. So I did send some plant samples down to Penn State, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they can find out for me. My apple trees have decided to do their June drop in July this year. Everything is much later this year. We've had just these strange temperature fluctuations from being very cool to all of a sudden spiking up to very hot. So I'm just picking up the apples. It helps with wasps coming into the property. I don't want anyone to trip and fall on these apples or twist an ankle. So it's just part of my daily routine to pick up these apples. And I'll just do a real quick cut of the grass before I call it a day. This is my Amish mower. I think they go by another name. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what that name is, but I know some people commented what they call it in their area, but here we call them Amish lawnmowers. Well, friends, I think I'm gonna call it a work day now. It's about 2:30. Can you guys see the monarchs there? I love showing you the garden, of course, in the evening when the light's good, but there's nothing like experiencing the garden during the day when the sun's out to really get to see all these wonderful bees and butterflies. But I want to wish you a great day out in your garden, and I'll see you sometime soon. I need to film the July garden tour because there's only 3 more days of July left. Rocky and I would like to wish you a wonderful day out in your gardens, and we hope to see you sometime soon. Bye!